Hello, everybody. So today I'm going to be reading something that I found interesting while perusing through some Facebook posts that I liked. And this one is from this Facebook group from the Order of the Sith, which always has some really wise posts that I like to learn from. And they're super realistic, and it's really fascinating. It says, we must adapt and control our own minds and thoughts to make the situations we find ourselves in advantageous to ourselves. We find ourselves in advantageous to ourselves. Oof. It doesn't benefit to try to manipulate everything and everyone around us to fit a dream that we can never control. Okay. We can control how we react and respond, and in these, we can direct events to our design. So butchering this right now. So do so accordingly. Adapt to reach your goals. Failure is not an option. And for me, what that means, I was really like, hey, this is what I'm kind of doing in my mind right now. We must adapt and control our mind and thoughts. It comes back to something as flowing, not forcing. I started to get to know myself. I'm still continuously getting to know myself and get to know my own mind and know my inner workings. And I've been working through a lot of, I feel like it's modern day self-psychology. Like it's psychology that's very healing, and it's been very transformative for me personally. And I've been getting to know my inner workings, realizing that parts of me are evolving and changing, and learning to get to know the self, it becomes empowering. And I get to see where I'm at, and then it goes into looking out into my world. I started to understand natural laws of the universe. For example, what goes around comes around. So if I act rude to someone, it's going to come around to me in a different way. And what Sith path represents to me is the empowerment of the self in nowadays reality. And it means success. I've always wanted to become something much bigger than myself, to be able to feel fear or have anxiety, because I'm like social anxiety. I've gone from an ENFJ to an INFP, which we start doing these tests that is super cool. And then I did a lot of them. And I was able to kind of put together some of the pieces to a puzzle of myself, and it was like interesting. I think I was super, super open, and then you start having these experiences in your world and reality, and you're like, don't like that. That's nah. And you start setting boundaries, and through those learning experiences, you can start you're learning what you want. In life is I don't know what I want fully in life, which has been kind of discouraging, and I feel frustrated. I feel helpless or hopeless. Even though my will is super strong, when I put my mind to something, I can do it. And I've done it by getting a job. I worked at an ice rink for the season of the winter, so it's seasonal ice rink. And that means I had to relearn how to do a resume, right? And that took me a couple of months. Did it on a Google Doc. I even asked a friend who for some help after, just reading it through, because he always has that good advice. He's like a wiser person. And so, it's kind of like doing some work, and I think I haven't done a resume in a while. So it was great to do that on my own, then be able to ask for feedback and input. And it just helped me fix a couple of things, which then now that I had been looking at jobs for in the summer, right? It's like, okay, so what kind of job do I want to make my resume for? I've done customer service. I worked at restaurants. I worked at a warehouse, industrial ceramics company. So you're taking things off the line, off the kiln. Sometimes you're making sure they fit this gauge. And then sometimes I'm sanding with a wheel. It's like a potter's wheel. That was like a diamond pad, and you're like sanding things. So I think it was called a black belt operator. I forget the actual title of the job, but I worked with parts for a ceramics company, and that was a cool experience. Um, and you got to work with green parts. So that's, before they're fired, you have to like take this like sponge and smooth over the edges, which if you get too much water on them, then they break. So you're like, oh no, you learned. I can always make more, but then it's like, oh no, like I was breaking product, and it's like, no, it's fine. But you learn to be careful with the green parts. And it was all a very cool learning experience. I have worked at an ice rink before, and I wasn't expecting to get hired at the ice arena. So I was, thinking of, okay, this summer, when is there an ice arena here down, because I used to work in Vail. I worked for Vail Resorts, which there's the Vail, and then there's the one up in Eagle, Avon, Beaver Creek, which is a Vail resort. There's a couple, resorts, locations that are hooped in, that are all a part of Vail and in general. So, Bethel. There I am talking down on myself. Gotta stop that. And that's when I really started to ice skate, and eventually I bought a pair of ice skates, and I started to find some sort of emotion and feeling that made me light up. And for someone who felt kind of ugly and was with an ugly situation too, I learned that I was beautiful. And ice time is I think it's so much sacred. It's very special to me because people have, come and go. The ice is always there, and it's got your back, quite literally sometimes. Well, not your back, I hope, but your butt, when you fall. And I'd rather fall on the ice than fall on when you're doing like rollerblading, or skating. You have the linoleum floor or vinyl. One time I did a cheerlead kick, and I fell on my butt and went back on the vinyl. That was kind of funny. That was funny. A little bit of funny moment of falling on vinyl and for that floor that you have when you do the disco nights, so roller skating, not skates, blades. It was actually really funny too. One more side topic. I had a dream about figure skating and doing, jumps. But it was in a gym, sorry, not gymnastics, a gym floor, like in a basketball court. You have the floor. And later I realized that it's an actual sport where ice skating, you'll actually do it on roller blades or skates, the quads. And they had the same dress, they looked beautiful, and they were not doing it on ice. They were doing it, the one skater I saw had these quads, which I think those are the skates. The blades are the ones that are like the 6 wheels or 8 wheels. I forget. I like the skates, the blades, then the roller skates. Went down to tracks one night and did the roller blade skates, which are the 4. It was super weird because I'd go forward and like my toe would just go into this thing, and I was like, how do you go forward on this thing? It was a whole different experience that I think was super fun and super challenging. I couldn't really go forward that much. I was actually like super petrified. But next time I'll be bringing my blades and maybe learn and try and adapt to learn how to do the blades skates. The 4 wheels little thing. And I learned that it was a sport, and someone actually had showed me that, and that's funny because I had a dream about that. It was just really funny as a kid. And I started getting into ice skating and fell a lot, ended up borrowing a pair of skates at first, and got my own, Jackson Skate Fam, whoop whoop, and the other skaters who use Jackson. Uh, there's Jackson, there's Adia, there's Riddle or Riddle, however you say that. There's other blades, retail people out there. I want to get the Adia sometime when I'm super good, and they look really cool. But I still, in my second pair, I had the Jackson Classics, I think. They're the typical build that you had back then before they got all this cushioning, and it feels more like a tennis shoe that I'm wearing. It feels comfortable. Like, I actually felt more bolder in these because I felt like I wasn't wearing like a hollow, with the V. You can see when you go rentals, they'll have the comfort skates with the padding, and they're not as good, me personally. Then there's the hollow boot ones that have the, toe, like back in the day before, again, they started building, I think, better skates, honestly. But skating in that, it was super cool. And they supposedly discontinued the Jackson skates that I have. I can't really fully, say 100% they're the classics, but I don't even know if they actually discontinued them. I'm a little confused because I still see people skating with them, but there's not as much padding. Like, again, it was before they started, I think, building more supportive and more different kinds of boots. I don't know, but it was super comfortable. When I got my Jackson debut, it was the low high rise. They're super cool, and I love them. And going from the intermediate blade on the blade I was borrowing, on the skates I was borrowing, going from where it has, sorry, not intermediate, beginner, then you go to an intermediate blade, I'm just like, oh, this blade is bigger, and breaking in your skates, and then somehow hitting your toe pick when you're doing a one foot glide, and then, forward. I like how I was like, thoosh. I like how that was the noise. I've done that one time and I hit my knee and I was like, oh, my knee. These knees. So, I'm passionate about ice skating. It makes me light up. Same with horses. When I say I love something as much as I love horses, people pay attention because that's like a thing. My family who knows me, they're like, oh yeah, if she says that, then. I always talk my dad's ear off when we go see the horses. I'm like, I love horses. Are you excited about da da da? Yeah. I think that's definitely something that positivity with my family. I love horses. My dad and I were close, kind of with the horse thing. He had Arabians, and I grew up being around crazy, brilliant, fiery, 0 to 10 in less than a millisecond horses. And Portia, or Nightliner was her name, and she's a beautiful Arabian. And there's Athens. I don't know if he was a quarter horse or whether he was an Arabian, but he had a stick up his butt. I mean, that horse was just super cranky, and he hated everyone, except for my brother Ben, I think. Oh man, remembering my younger brother when he was, that punk, like, I hate you, before I went to military camp. But no, like, I loved Ben in ways. He always was kind of cold and harsh. He like, get away from me, blasting his music. But in ways, I felt like we connected. In ways, I feel like we're both at that age. I was the rebel. He was kind of the older rebel, and I was a younger kid back then. And he always looked out for me to a certain extent, in certain ways. And there are experiences where he just like, nah, it's okay. No, I love my brother Ben. And I love all my family, but I'm closest to my sister Heidi and my brother Ben. Ben always, But then again, there's just, I think there's like certain siblings that you love all your siblings, but you're kind of not closer, but maybe, I don't know. I resonate with Ben. He's always telling me, don't do this, be healthy, be good. And I'm just like, I am being good. But I feel like he's always like looking out for me, which I can appreciate. Um, and in ways, I think we just see parts of ourselves in the other. So we want what's best. I don't know. I love my family though. But horses, ice skating, family, yes. Anyways, I've always and so back to ice skating and how that goes into this whole job, you know. I figured out, well, why not work at an ice rink? I started, scoping out different locations, looking at the is this wise friend said, when you're building your resume, build it for what you want to for the job in particular. Build it to be more specific, and then you can just start applying to jobs that have this exact thing. And it's so much more easier when you know what you want to do. And so now I was finding out, okay, which ice rink is closer, because down in Denver, there's Skyline Ice Arena, which their ice, it hurts to skate on. I think they don't make it very well. Review, like I actually skate over gravel, and when I worked at Belmar Ice Arena, it was one of the most amazing experiences places to work at. My boss was super cool. It was very laid back, and I had great conversation with my coworkers. So yeah, I had to get hired. I applied for there, and I was like, this is even closer. This is in Belmar, which is an area in Colorado, and me not driving, having to take the local RTD stuff, which is our like bus. There's like a tram kind of like, the subways, or Chicago and LA has the, SkyTrain. We kind of have that here too. Chicago's looks really crappy. It's not as crowded as LA, but yeah, I like how you can take the light rail, they call it, the light rail all the way to the airport, but it takes forever, and ended up missing a flight because of that. There was supposed to be a light rail that came at this time, it didn't. So I was like, oh, like bummer, man. I was really looking forward. So I was like, darn it. Always just take a lift, honestly. Always, always, always. If you can really shorten things and simplify it, it's worth the investment. And I just, I didn't have a phone back then. iPhones, I think they tend to melt down after a while, and they're so infuriating to me and plus it broke, so I didn't have a phone, and you have to have the app to get a lift. I'm actually going to try something out and see if you can, like, if you have a phone number, then can you actually book one online, which I will have that answer sometime, because I just have a laptop right now, and I actually got like a cheap phone. Basic, because I was actually happy to not have to have a phone with me. Like it literally went down to a lot of screen time. Like less screen time, less selfies, more of I like taking selfies. It was the only downer is that when I do flow, I had power editor on there. So that's like a pro and con to everything, a yin and a yang, right? With an iPhone, like if you don't have, like my Apple ID was being weird, and then everything just doesn't work, or it's always asking me for payment information. Just naturally, like if you're using the to get power director, they're just super stupid how much information I think you have to put on there, which to me makes me feel exposed. You have all the information on your phone when you can just have it in certain areas, but not every single device. It's nice. But everything is done through technology nowadays. I think half our brains now are on technology. I had to go to the DMV to get a new ID. And some girl was asking Siri how you spell license, and I'm just like, she blonde, isn't she? And I look around and it's like, oh, she's a brunette. A little bit of a blonde joke there, and I was like, what? And like people are just, we're putting so much. I think there's a balance that needs to be made. Like when I was in school, we had to do, learning how to write cursive. not everything was typed. I mean, screen time, that was like a thing that I got lucky with because it was easier for me to type things because my mind is faster. And so when I'm writing, it was hard for me to keep up with my mind at times, which I occasionally still write things now. But again, everything is just done on a laptop. And I almost want to start sending letters to people. My handwriting, again, is more of the doctor's handwriting. So I have to like really work hard on my handwriting so people can read it. So there's a pro and con to that. When I'm journaling, it's nice because I actually have an online journal, which getting to know how I work is just very, very empowering. What my likes are, what my dislikes are, what I could definitely add on to make me even better, I think. So anyways, I ended up, having some challenges because on this job, it was like a fight or struggle. What that means for me is I had to actually learn something new, which adapting, right? They say we adapt. We can't really, if I don't know how to do something, but I know I can learn how to do it, which really is allowed to get this done, right? Because we don't control everything. I don't control the world. I control myself. Every action I take gets me one step closer or one step farther. And there's always something that can be learned. I love, love, love learning knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is yummy. It's delicious and it feels great, especially about the self. But also, now I'm really having to adapt because I need to get my GED done if I want to go to college. So I have these. I was actually given some links. There's a free math tutor, which he has these videos. And I realized that, well, I'm not a complete idiot because there's just some stuff that I've forgotten. And if I use my meditation tools, if I go through, but there's a lot of paradigms of I'm helpless, I'm stupid, maybe I can't do this. It's a lot of mental fog and feeling like I'm being forced to do something that I never really wanted to do. Sometimes you have to do not fun stuff, what seems as not very fun or mundane, to get to the fun stuff, which, again, it's not everything's going to be fun and games and easy, right? Which again, this all ties into adapting, getting a grip and realizing that, well, there's no way around it except for over, So right now, I'm my only obstacle in the way. So I ended up building and adapting I call it playing with my mindset. Think of everything more as I get to learn more knowledge, right? In court, which adds drive into my GED now. Like now I think it's fun. Like I'm realizing that when you factor some 64 to a prime, it's like, oh yeah, I know the factor tree. Like, hey, that I can do. Like, I'm not an idiot. Like, yay, I remember some of this stuff. And there's parts of me that will be disempowering to myself as I'm trying to and doing and powering through to get this goal done, to attend, college and get an okay score because I have to get a certain score on the GED. I was definitely embarrassed because I'm not finishing high school. I'm having to do the GED. And I feel like it puts me behind a lot of other 24, almost 25-year-olds as, I feel super immature at times because I'm having to work through a lot of stuff, but it's all in bulk. Like I feel like it just happened 22. It was 22. Now it's 2 years later, almost 3. And that's where I'm having a lot of real life experiences and actually growing the F up, which feels good. To see sometimes the reality of what the world is like is kind of like my inner Peter or my inner child. They call him Peter Pan. He's like, I don't want to grow up. And that can be kind of hard. At such a young age, I feel like I got older. Now I feel like I'm working through all my inner child stuff and getting younger while also somehow doing everything that I need to do in a certain way, holding a job. So waking up on time, continuously getting to work on time. And sometimes if you're not on time because you missed the wrong bus, or one time I was like, oh no. And sometimes traffic, like don't freak out, keep your boss updated and they're likely to be chill with it, right? One time I hopped on the wrong bus and that was, I felt bad because I was starting to get towards that busy season. So I'm just like, oh no, they are going to kill me. I'm going to get fired. I did not I was okay. Um, it was like, thankfully, it's not a busy day. And that's what they said. They like, if you just make sure you get on the bus next time the right one. And I'm just like, absolutely, will do. But it was a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. And in the end, everything was good. But I was like, oh no, I'm going to go tell my boss that I was super, 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 super duper late. Shame on me. Bad. Right. Because you're all a team. But anyways, yeah. So I'm learning how to accept the reality of things. Acceptance that if I want to go to college, if I want to align myself in my truest path as a musician, as someone who later wants to do yoga retreats and do psychotherapy healing and do horses and do somatic dance movement therapy, incorporate my passion and love of dance, do Reiki, which I learned to do on myself. And I think you learn to do a lot of this on yourself first. That's what it is. I think there are so many different therapists out there who have not done the work on themselves. And then they become what I call wounded healers. I had a therapist and therapy has never really been helpful to me, except for one therapist. And out of the many, because I have, struggles and I didn't really bond with my parents and, just my path, my story, it doesn't make me less, but there's a lot of stuff that happened to me. So it's like I think it was like really touch therapy that you're forced to do this stuff. Otherwise, you didn't get the apple juice, and just a lot of stuff. Um, I'm definitely super wary about therapists because I haven't really found anyone who actually does not try to steer my ship and control me or change me. I need people to embrace me and to be honest with me and help me work through things. But if they're just going to read from a script, I think a lot of therapists aren't good at what they do. I ended up doing their job better than they could, which I know that kind of sounds mean, but I'm very relatable. I'm very, very chill. I'm very, very now I'm chill. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that again, I had anger issues. It started to arise when I was 13, 14 from being, stuff in the past, feeling like I had no control. People were controlling me. People were telling me what I should or shouldn't do. And also, putting me on these meds and saying that I have these issues when I was just, in an orphanage for 2 years. So I was a little traumatized, third world country, traumatized. Definitely had some dark times that when you're a baby, you learn that everything's going to be okay. When my mom held me, I cried. Immediately started screaming. That makes me feel bad on the inside because I never got that mom to mom hard time. So when I got it, I was scared. I was pushing away. I was fighting it. So then after a while, you start to wonder, well, what's wrong with this child? I'm just like, Mom, I'm just scared. Like, I can't say that. I'm only 2, barely 3, right? And so, they start wondering, do you have attachment maybe issues or disorders? Or 5 years old, I was going to children's hospital. They had lots of blood work, lots of testing. And it really hurt my feelings, just because, and I wish, some part of me would have connected with her so that maybe a lot of that stuff would not have happened. Which I'm not saying my mom's bad. It's, you start wondering what's wrong and if there's anything that could be worked on. So I get it. And I'm learning to accept that. I'm learning to not, because even like I had a heart-to-heart conversation with my mom. As the need arises, I want to be able to talk to her about things. Because if you don't talk, if you bottle things up, it doesn't work out too well. And it just keeps getting worse. And I'm grateful for my parents. I love them a lot. I just have anger. I have frustration from some of those things. And they have their own. It feels good to just be able to talk it out and be mature and have both sides feel heard, which is important. Wow, this is definitely just a different feeling from all the other videos. Oh man. Hmm. But where was I? I'm just gonna enjoy this. It just feels peaceful. Right, the therapists and people and all that stuff. Instead of actually helping me, they try to immediately steer your ship and, poking and prodding the bear than actually getting to know the person. It was more of a procedure than a heart to heart. You get what I mean? Like, if I'm going to want to talk to someone about some struggles and, be able to work through things and learn even more tools to add to my toolbox. I'd like them to actually hear me and get to know me and be able to personal, I think a resonancy where if it's not, then absolutely not. And I didn't really have a say sometimes. So I got wounded healers. And it was almost kind of hypocritical sometimes too. I opened up about being lesbian one time because I learned a couple things about my therapist and it was obvious. And so I was like, hey, like, I want to talk to you about this too. Like, and I wonder what's like, then you get like oh, that's bad. And then they try to change you. But they're also doing what your parents tell them to do, right? Too. So at the same time, it's kind of like it's really interesting, I think, how much the parents' views and what the parents want oftentimes can either really help or inhibit the therapeutic healing there too sometimes. I'm not saying my parents did that, but I'm in a Christian family, so being LGBTQIA is kind of, we believe that if you're not with man or woman, because in man there's woman, then you're going to hell. Which I don't believe in. I've gotten to know source energy and I do talk to what is perceived as God. I'm very, very spiritual. I don't just follow Christian. I follow a lot of, different paths. Buddhism. There's, some really cool ascension stuff, working with archangels and light energy and realizing that we can actually heal. It's the Reiki energy, right? In the Bible, they say that he could heal people. And it was the ability to speak life. And, my Reiki, I don't know if it could actually heal a disease like that woman who touched his robe. But he felt, the woman he turned around and said, "Who touched me?" Because he felt his energy go out to this woman who is now healed. And my energy does not do that to that extent. However, I can actually start using it on myself, and it can be very soothing, very healing, very calming. You can actually, like, if you have a red, which can mean like inflamed or infected area, or I don't know, you have like an inflamed joint, or maybe your neck gets a little wonky when sleeping. So I massage and I use my energy that I can either, use my hands or circulate it through my energy. And people have I've worked on people before too, and they're like, yeah, man, that feels good. And I'm just like, wow, like that's super awesome that you can use the energy and the force and activate theirs as well. Because you're not pouring, you're like starting it, but then you're also starting to circulate their energy. It's really interesting. Oh my gosh. So I'm listening to music right now. I'm going to share this. This mix is awesome. This is a tribal liquid flow, which I like having music going in my Bluetooth headphones. I just had like, oh wait, no, not that. Oh my gosh, not that. I mean that was a workout idea I'm starting to make. To start making some workouts for different stuff. Get my butt back in shape. So I was sick for 2 months. Felt really crappy. Got the cold, then the flu, then the stomach flu. So I get all free this year. Okay, but in this remix, this awesome part that I'm listening to with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song, and I'm just like, oh yeah, all right. It's super cool. You should listen to it. It's on SoundCloud. They have really cool, lots of like meditations and a lot of different kind of music and these like meditational things that I'll find, which I will definitely be doing another meditation video with um, this other track out there that I will then also be posting down below to give proper credit, and that people can go and listen to that in their time, probably without me always meditating too. It's really cool. Yeah, there's so many cool stuff that you can find. So, there's the reason why I talk about this is it all flows into where I'm going. As I'm going into studying on my GED, I had to work on that mental fog. As I got to hold a job, got it on my own, worked hard. There's, adapting, where I had to put for the, not audition, I keep want to say audition. It felt like an audition. For the interview process, you have to make a video and answer these questions. And so I was like, oh, like I've never done this before. Usually you put in an application or you do an online, or they call you and you go in person, right, for the interview. Usually for other jobs, there's like 3 different rounds, but the kind of jobs that I work, it's not really like that complicated. At least that I worked, I've never had to do that 3-round thing, but that's more about like software technicians and working for IT. But yeah, so I had to learn how to adapt and make a video on my laptop. I was like, I don't have my phone. I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna make this happen. So I did a live, just and then answered the questions. Oh no, I actually did use my phone on that one. There was something else. Sorry, I did use my phone on that. And actually went through it a couple of different times. I had a couple different takes. That I did have my iPhone. Whoops. But it's something else that actually they did not know what to do. And so there are these almost like these, like, oh my gosh, like, okay. I had to confidently answer the questions. Because I worked at Vail Resorts, I am qualified for this job. In addition, I am also a figure skater. So I've had a lot of ice rink time. And so, again, going back to Vail, sorry guys about this format and organization of my thoughts. So I started to skate at Vail and got good. Then I would talk to people, because sometimes you find those talkative people and you kind of learn from each other, and it's like fun to be social sometimes, just from being a customer there. And I got to know Michelle, who's the lady who runs that every year, my boss. She's awesome. Her employees were awesome. And so I love to go skating there. I'd spend over 6 hours there. I'd spend all my day there. Like, it's open from 12 to 9:30, I think, if I remember correctly. So 12, they're jamming the ice. They're doing the ice make, which I learned that there's a wet cut and there's a dry cut, which that'll go into Belmar. But it was always really fun. And she saw that I could talk to people, that I could strike up conversation as well as give a few pointers. Because people would be like, hey, she's an ice skater. And so sometimes they'd talk to me or I'd talk to them. And, depending on reading on the situation, a lot of the time people are super open. And there's also there's a hockey skater. So watching him do these jumps and rotations, I was like, oh my gosh, dude, that's awesome. How do you do that? Because he didn't use a toe pick. He did like a triple rotation. I think, what's that called? A flip jump? Where you're not really using your toe pick. But he was like not doing it. You just, he's in the standstill jump, doing 4 rotations or 3. And then you get really good air too. And I was like, I think it's a flip jump. Because it looks like you're not really doing like a toe pick jump. You're just jumping up in the air and you're rotating. But also I forget the flip jump. But anyways, this guy was really cool. He had really cool air. And I met a lot of friends from Vail actually, and found some good people up there. So then eventually she's like, you want to work here? We could start you at 11 an hour. And I'm just like, absolutely, like, heck yeah. So I did that for a little bit. Then just, I was with like an abusive person and a predator at the time. So eventually I ended up quitting. But I liked being able to work around something that I'm passionate about. I literally got paid to keep people safe enforce some rules, and ice skate for over 6 hours. Which that was great. That was the best job ever. Sometimes I'd be inside wiping skates, but a lot of the time I'd be outside, being active, getting some action. I always would. When I started to work there too, I'd get a couple when you work there, you get a ski pass, and that was cool. And I would get a couple runs in, get there around 7 or 8, take the lift up and get a couple runs because it'd be opening around 12. So Michelle would go do the ice make. And so, yeah, it was really fun. I felt like when you find that job that you're passionate about, you never have to work a day in your life. And so that's how that's inspired me. It's customer service. I worked at a prestigious resort. And so I'm going to do it down in Belmar, which, again, I told you about the video clip where you answer these questions and then had to fill out the forms. So I got hired. I was like, yes. I had to braid my hair. I had braids in my hair. So I put a hat over just to, the straight top can make me not look very professional. So, of course, I was doing that late at night and just, put a top on, a clean top, something that kind of looks, kind of professional, not like suit and tie professional, but just athletic professional. It made me look good, right? Not sloppy Joe. Anyways, I just like sloppy mojo, whatever. Or whatever, however you say that. Kind of like a not a heathen, a hobo. I don't look like a hobo, but anyways, I just wanted to look nice. So that's what I did. And then I got the job. Then again, you have these other, like a background check and this other form that she sent through Google Docs. So I was like, well, I can just fill this out through Google Docs, right? Because I didn't have a printer. And so I was like, oh, like, I don't have a fax machine. I don't have a printer. How am I going to make this happen? So I guess, filling it out through Google Docs, that did not end up going through. So when I ended up, there was a couple of tenants here that I'm friends with, and I've been here at this apartment for a year now. I already renewed the year, last year. So it's like, cool. I like this apartment place that I'm at. So I've gotten to know a couple different people, and they're like people I can hang out with, which is, and we have dinner, we have parties together for Valentine's Day, or we didn't have Valentine's Day, but you had New Year's, and I really actually like how they have New Year's and different. There's like a monthly party that is pool party, and it's fun. Make friends. I'm being social. Yay. Which mostly I'm by myself. To connect with people, it's nice. Here or there, and so yeah. They had a printer, so I was like, let's make this happen. Okay, so I'm gonna go ask them if I can use their printer, and that's how I made that happen. So then, because I couldn't fax it, I was like, hey, can I just take a picture of this and send this to you? And they're like, absolutely. And so everything ended up being very, very adaptable, and we made it happen. I was like, I need to take initiative. I was very, very stressed. When I heard that the background and the paper did not go through, I was like, crap, right inside. And it could have spiraled, but I was like, no, be fierce, make this stuff happen. We can do this, right? Don't allow yourself to spiral into this, oh no, help me, poor me, Nothing ever works out. It's like trying to get in my way, right? That's a mindset I get. When an obstacle comes in my way, I go back to I'm feeling forced to do. I feel like people are trying to steer my course, when really sometimes it's just an obstacle that you can easily get over when you get past that mindset and allow yourself not to sink into that paradigm, thought pattern, behaviors, And then I started working after a bit, and that was, super awesome. 44 minutes later. Oof, I should probably shorten a lot of these videos, huh? I'll have to work on that. but I had to adapt. I was able to apply that in my reality, and things that would usually get me, cause me to stumble sometimes, and then almost quit almost, or have something disempower me, so I'd miss out. They say a Sith takes every opportunity that is prevented, which when you start taking action in your life, it changes. There's other opportunities that do arise. When I go out to be social and start integrating myself, and I start meeting more like-minded people. It's something that takes time, but the more I sang, for example, at open mics, I kind of grew braver. I start to meet some of the same people. The more I go out to ecstatic dance, I start meeting some like-minded people on the same frequency, and it's nice to run into those people. But if I let fear hold me back and be shy, and not see that I'm beautiful, not see that I'm always socially awkward. I'm worried about if I'll say something wrong. And there's all these things because I think of everybody else as normal and myself as separate, which stems from a couple different things of when I was naughty, because I'm not perfect, right? When I said a bad word, or when I lied, or as a kid, or when I did something bad, I'd get sent to my room with no dinner sometimes, or get sent to the room with um, dinner or eat separate, so I wouldn't be able to eat with my family. And I spent a lot of the time locked up in my room, actually. What I mean by that is my door had a lock on it. As a kid, when you start realizing that you're masturbating and calling it the feeling, so this is super open, guys, super, super open. I crossed my leg, yeah, anyways. Anyways, I'd come at a young age, or orgasm, and I didn't really know it. It was a way for me to relieve a lot of stress. And so when you have that face, and that when you release, you're like, oh, the energy feels good. Um, then you're tired, and that's how I could fall asleep too. Mom walked in, and it was super embarrassing. I think moms always know whether you're up to something, and I didn't think of it as positive because we're told that sex is bad. You're gonna only do that when you're older and when you're married. And I kind of felt like a freak because I didn't really know what was going on, and perhaps maybe playing doctor at such a young age turned me on to like, kids. It's they don't know any better. Sometimes anyways. And it's a kid thing, back then they're innocent, they don't really understand. You tell them, don't stick the spoon down people's pants. Again, super open, guys. And anyways, something that I used to feel super embarrassed about and completely unsure of what was even going on, what was going on. It was super embarrassing. And mom would start wondering what I'm doing wrong because I had that guilt underneath, being like, oh, what did I just do? But then mom's here. She's asking me if I did something wrong. So eventually I started to do something wrong because I couldn't bear the thought of my mom knowing that I was coming and not even knowing it. I used to call it the feeling, right? So I started to do that a lot. So it resulted in me stealing or having something bad, right? To avoid what I felt was bad behavior of doing the thing. I'm actually really shy about it, but at the same time, I feel really bold. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can. This is something that I'm also working through too. Um, and so, there'd be an alarm on my door. I'd be locked in. And I would definitely felt like I was treated separately. So when it comes to being social or being with, feeling like I'm normal, right? Because I was told I had brain chemical imbalances, I had bipolar, I had, this or that, because I liked food a lot. It made someone say, I must be retarded because I liked about hamburgers, going to a nice restaurant. And food is a connection to the force, to the universe, and I'm a foodie. I like food. It's yummy, especially when you can put your own energy in it and you start cooking. And anyways, and I talked to my mom, and she said that none of that really lined up with anything, and I feel like come off my meds. I literally rebelled. I was like, I'm just gonna go off these. Like, fuck this. Because they always felt like they were only thin layers that were trying to suppress me when there was nothing wrong with me. And so I always think like there's something wrong with me, right? That I shouldn't be out in my world. And I was literally wrapped in bubble wrap for 22 years of my life. It took the therapist to make some unauthorized use of power that eventually backfired. And then I was moved to an extended stay and started to live my life and experience the world, which ended up in loss of virginity. I was like, I want to do all these things. I want to start exploring. And I'm just like, fuck yeah, I'm out of my parents' house, right? And the meds, I was chubbier, I was fatter. So a lot of people made fun of me. Um, they really slow your metabolism down. And that's probably how you have a lot of disruptive behavior, is because you're suppressing a lot of, which can really fuck with the body. There was this one med that was a red pill. I forget what it's called. Amantadine. No, maybe it was something else. But randomly, I was at a RTC. Um, Out of the many ones that helped me, because I had horses, and my therapist was great over there. She was awesome. Um, there's a lot of stuff that I need to be worked through. Uh, I would randomly just drop to the floor, like my muscles would just give out, and I'd feel shaky. And for me, that's scary. Like I didn't know what was going on. It's just a new med, and it made me feel super weak and inferior. I didn't like that. And again, I'd fall. I'd freak out at first. I'd start crying, almost panicking, crying out, crying, getting frustrated, and then I'd have to take a few deep breaths on the ground, and then I was able to get up. And again, I'd feel super shaky. It would always happen to me when I'm climbing through the fence, when just randomly, because we feed the horses, right? You have a horse place, you feed the horses, you learn how to make your own rope halter, you're assigned to a horse. And I got the most stubbornest horse out there, of course, because I'm pretty spirited. I'm an Aries, which if you pay attention to horoscopes, or if you believe any of that, it was so realistic. I was like, horoscopes, yeah, whatever. That seems like hoodoo voodoo stuff, right? Okay, not voodoo. You get what I mean. It sounds like magic stuff, which for me, I was closed off to it. We're told that that's Satan magic, right? That healing is Satan magic. That's also only something God can do, not humans. When meditation is very Zen-like, and the universe and its power. People don't want people to realize that they can heal themselves. We want to rely heavily on our government to fix things for us. We want to put our power into somebody else who always wants that power. And that's a lot of the world. People want power. People will try to spend their lives disempowering others and telling them how inferior and how they need to act, societal standards, right? As a girl, as a boy, like if you're something in between, then you're less than, which no. It's just we reject outside stimuli. We reject everything that is not the same. You don't fall in line with the rest of the people, then you don't belong, or you must be crazy, or you must be different. And again, people can't accept things that are different. We're in a very, very controlled reality, I believe, and I've seen. I'll be like super happy one time. I was running down and then decided to dance because with my headphones in, of course. I have music when I'm traveling. It's very soothing. It helps with crowd anxiety. And I was going down for some ice time down at DU. So I was dancing and warming up and running up and down, and someone said, "What kind of meds is she on?" And it was a homeless person. It was probably someone who was like did stuff. I was like, so being happy, dancing, doing some running up and down because I went to warm up and then stretching because I was already gonna miss out on some of my ice time. So I was like, darn it, let's just get that all done now. Right, let's get the body moving, let's get the body pumped, then I can already be stretched and then quickly lace up my skates after paying admission and get my butt out there, right? And it was different. A lot of people their nose is in their phones. They come to and from work super unhappy. I like people watching. So when I have my headphones in, I meditate in the light rail, and I'll do like lotus pose, or I'll have my hands out like this, right? Just getting ready for my day, or getting ready, setting my intention. Um, because again, I don't like going into the city. Sometimes I do, but again, it can get exhausting after a couple of hours. I've always grown up in the mountains, so definitely living in the city. It's not really in the heart of the city, but near the city, like right in between what I feel is the mountains and the city. I like it. I can appreciate where I'm at. But man, I'm super, super, like, I think I was spoiled rotten to almost live in the mountains. The water is more pure, I think. I'm actually going to get a water filter uh, because it just tastes different. I was talking to someone about that too, and just getting a water filter keeps a lot of that gross stuff out there. And I don't know, it's just interesting. It's like I was shocked. I was like, this is, yeah. So I'm very glad that I lived up in the mountains. I mean, it's so peaceful and quiet, and it's so private almost too. Like, um, it feels different. It's a whole different atmosphere. Which then going down to the city, it was like 45 minutes, half an hour. So there's a yin and there's a yang. That's not really a yin or a yang, but I don't know. I loved where I'm at though. I also love where I'm at here, but I wish I could live in the mountains again. But then really, since currently I don't drive, it's requiring more things, more work, and there's, it's like, it's unless I find a work that I can just walk to every day or ride a horse to. You can still ride horses legally. I'm kidding. I can't put the horse anywhere. Or even, getting a bike. But just anyways, slight sidetrack there. But realize how fortunate we are. However, we feel like we were stuck in places that may have not been so helpful or positive. We realizing how supported you are and where that support is and maybe where it's not, and then really starting to see your reality, because that'll help. And action, and then going into your worlds. Don't be afraid. I'm still afraid sometimes. I have social anxiety. If it's something that's into the unknown, it's a struggle because I'm so far into my journey that I feel it's super far when it's only just begun. Oh boy. When I go, oh boy, that means I'm stuck in self-doubt instead of heck yeah, into the unknown. Yay. Self-doubt is a killer. Fear, it's hard going into the unknown because I don't know what I'm going to find. And as I set a goal, then there's like a trial of everything tries to distract me and dissuade me, and end up having to push forward to believe in myself and start making authoritative choices. Be like, no, you're not going to go there. You're not going to go there. It's okay to feel afraid, but we're going to choose to be, finding ways to talk to yourself too. Because sometimes if I be like, no, I need to say, okay, well, I feel afraid right now, and that's going to be okay to acknowledge that emotion, but not allow it to rule you, which that's sometimes kind of hard. When you start facing yourself, you realize that I can realize that I'm my own worst enemy. I am pretty strong, and heck, have a lot of passion. My will is super strong, and I'm just starting. Like, I started like last year, a couple months ago. Switching between Jedi or Sith, and then letting go of those dogmatic sides. And oftentimes we demonize our own darkness, and there's been a lot of stuff. It's just that that one thing on Order of the Sith really stuck out to me today, and it's like I was feeling like I'm not getting anywhere when in fact I've been starting to see where I'm using that, and then where there still is work, and there's still a lot of work I can do. There really is this hunger There's this hunger that I think never stops. There's this longing to want to continue and to be like, I don't know where this is going to lead me. I want to finish my GED. I want to go to Europa. I would like to get my education and also, write, sing songs. And I see myself becoming a major influencer. And through my story, which I used to thought make me less, I can inspire others and be a light by, continuously to inspire myself and surprise myself as well as like, hey, for the world, right? Which will happen over time. I'm just starting again. Why would I want to be famous? Because it'd be cool. I think we all want fame. Now, whether I'm going to be famous, no idea. But it's always that thing that I can strive for with the goal, and to continuously go up higher and higher and to continuously evolve and grow into something more and just continue to live my life. There's times where it's just like absolute muck, and it's called embrace the suck. And it was funny because a couple months ago I saw this post and I was like, hey, it feels like it sometimes. Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to embrace it. I don't want to be here sometimes, right? And it's like, well, you're here. And so life goes on. And so continue going through. Having that mental fortitude, even when your body does not want to keep going, there are times where that happens to my body, and so my mind would have to keep pushing me through these moments. That's kind of how it is especially when I'm not active, and then if I, get myself going back again, then I'm pushing those limits. Like I'm literally pushing myself past that runner's high into that runner's high, and then, continuously seeing how far my body can go while also building it up to extend a few. I think it's like doing it in a smart way that's very, very helpful. Which I'm super excited because I'm starting to feel better. I'm getting more talkative again. I'm starting to be more active because again, I've been doing like more behind the scenes in the dark, kind of thing. Like I haven't really been social. I haven't talked to a lot of people, and usually that's because I'm working through a lot of stuff internally inside my own space. It's really felt good to hold space for myself and know that choosing myself, people are going to say that's selfish. When there's a saying that I really found encouraging, and I'm just like, oh, heck yeah, man. Like, seriously, this is how I feel. I resonated with this. The moment you put a stop to people taking advantage of you and disrespecting you is when they define you as difficult, selfish, or crazy. Manipulators hate boundaries. And that's what happened to me when I started being like, okay, well, if you're not going to say anything nice, or if you're going to call my life fruitless, then you can just kindly not say anything at all, right? Like I'm asking for, because I know my life is not, it's very, very fruitful. I know it is. And I'm just, starting to grow things, starting to see things. There's a lot of abundance that I've started to reap from it, which we all have that in our own lives. And I'm just saying it's not just me, but I do have a lot of spiritual abundance. But at the same time, we all need to realize that we all have that if we choose to tap into it. And I think a lot of people look at me sometimes and like, how do you, and like, you're rich, you're wealthy. And I'm just like, no, my ass is broke. Like, and so I looked at where they're seeing that, and I started to realize, oh, like, but so are they. Like, we don't often see that. I think it's the grass is greener on the other side. But anyways, I liked this saying because people like will call me difficult, selfish, or crazy for mainly saying, can you like not, or being precise. I'm very, very precise about over at Temple of the Jedi Force, which is different than Temple of the Jedi Order. I was like being very, very precise and asking some people not to comment. And I even said back when I was studying over there, I currently am not and won't be going back. And it's a great place, by the way. Not like they did anything wrong. I'm just, I kind of go around to different groups and end up studying, and some places are only temporary. And the experiences that I had there are super awesome, by the way. Um, I'm currently branching off from Force Academy, which again, that's where it started. So I started doing the meditation, and that was super awesome. Now I'm back to journaling on Order of the Sith, which it was interesting because there's a group out there that was talking about something about Order of the Sith Lords, and I was like, wait, like, so like you mean like that's or Oots is not Order of the Sith Lords, not that I know of, and it was funny because they're like blah blah blah, like I think like some people go at each other and there's drama. But I was like, Order of the Sith is least dramatic. I mean, really, it starts to mirror yourself, and you start to realize, and it sometimes gets very infuriating. But because it's super honest, and I like that website, that forum, that when I'm supposed to understand something, I end up understanding it. When I don't understand it, it's just not time, or maybe I'm never going to understand that writing, but I'll end up finding something. And the path has been very, very helpful and super realistic and super honest. I'm starting to realize a lot of things. Which acceptance of this reality and where I'm at, and then coming to terms with it and being okay with it too. That's kind of today's theme. And the path to success and the path to becoming what you want to be. And sometimes it means adaptation. Sometimes it means doing things you don't want to do. Sometimes it means being absolutely scared or shitless or facing parts of yourself that I happily dove into my darkness, I think. I ran in it like a wild woman and dove in headfirst. I was like, heck yeah. Then I started to pull back after a bit, then ran in and out. And the more I started to stick with it, I started to see that it felt like, if I could try and describe it for you, it felt like it's all about the darkness of the self. You're not looking at Satanism. You're not looking at I think a lot of people be like, so you look at the dark side, and I'm just like, dark side living is about the self. And so trauma, all these things that I've been naming and how they can be disempowering. And it's about the insertion of yourself into your reality through very practical and impactful and meaningful ways. Some don't always seem practical. That just means you start learning, like, oh, yeah. This does help now. But anyways, I had to run in because there's a lot of dress up Sith. There's a lot of dress up Jedi too. But it's not about being an aggressive, egotistical jerk. Now, being aggressive in life versus people, right? Chasing after what you want, going after what you want. There's a sort of ferocity that I think I've started to find within myself, and I'm just like, oh, like, huh. It's super interesting, but I'm just gonna end this video. And if you ever want to check it out, no one can make you want to become a Sith. But the philosophy, the place is super awesome. And Force Academy and Order of the Sith are actually linked. There's Darth Miles, who's now becoming a Jedi, which, good for him. It's going to be super awesome. I can't wait to meet some people too. There's a Jedi gathering, and I'm super stoked. There are some people that I do not like who are going either. But that's life. And that'll be interesting to be around those people. Because I'm, I don't know, I mean, I'm fine. It'll just be interesting. And I'm super stoked again. Never been to a Jedi gathering, so that'll be a fun experience. Learn, do workshops, meet people, be social. New person, got the new person vibes. It's okay if you're the new person. That's what Ali said, and I'm just like, I know. I just, yeah. Being the new person, I think, even though I've interacted with some of the people, some of the Jedi, and said up there, I'm also kind of nervous. It's a new experience. And anyways, and again, being around some of those energies will, I don't know, I get kind of nervous, to be quite honest. But I know everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. It'll be fine. And I'm super excited for this year's workshops. I think I want to do one of the fire. There's a shaman workshop. There's a fire workshop. They're doing it based on there's earth or water or air or something workshop. And the connection to the force, which, yeah. I actually wanted to do a workshop, but I just didn't turn it in on time. Plus, I was going through my own evolution, and I was like, maybe next year, sometime in the future. So I want to do fire flow. Probably not fire flow, but LED flow. And how ecstatic dance can be a connection to the force through integrating Qi work. Qigong. And when I dance, I use my Qi. And when I dance, I don't talk. I let the music carry me, and the music can be force can be transmitted through music. As you know, where you get healing, shamanistic vibes, ascension vibes. Something that the music, it actually makes you frequency. Everything is frequency, right? And so having that with the connection to the force would have been cool. And then I could, because that's my connection to the force. I'm an artist warrior person who's super awesome. Once you get to meet her face to face, I think internet interaction is definitely interesting because people are always weary, or they act differently than they do in person. And so that'll be interesting too. Yeah. But anyways, guys, I'm stoked. I'm gonna hit the end button, and I hope that everybody is doing well out there and having a great week, guys. As always, may the force be with you, guide you, and bless you, and keep you on your respective journeys.